a lot of people, they're afraid of credit, right? And I don't know why they're afraid of credit, right? Because it's leverage. Like, you know, my mother, she used to tell me all the time, cut the credit cards up, don't use them. It's the devil, right? But I'll tell you right now, it's leverage, right? It's the only thing, like a debit card can't give you money back.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to leverage credit cards, and that's why they're afraid of it. But we're going into the day and age now where credit is like a big pivotal thing.
Yep.
You can't have the house you want without good credit. You can't drive the car you want without good credit. And to be quite frank, you can't even have the woman you want without good credit, to be honest, right?
Hey business owners, what if I helped you get access to $50,000 in business funding for $1 a day? Would you be interested? Well, inside of my Credit Mastery community, you're gonna be getting exclusive access to our in-depth training program that's worth tens of thousands of dollars to give you the exact strategies you need on how to restore your credit and on how to properly structure your business. You're also gonna be getting access to a financial consultant with over a decade of experience in the funding space that'll help you reach your financial goals in half the time it would take if you were to do it on your own. And we're gonna be giving you 2 coaching calls every week that'll give you the exact banks you need to go to get access to $50,000 to $100,000 in business funding. This is the same community that helped Pat get access to $50,000 in funding from Chase, helped Alvin get access to $8,000 in funding from Amex, helped Matt boost his personal credit score by 150 points, and helped Donna delete a bankruptcy from her credit report. So if you're interested, click the link above or below this video to join now, and we'll see you on the other side of success. Let's go, family.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your #1 source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because our guest today is an entrepreneur, investor, mentor, coach, public speaker, and business funding specialist extraordinaire. He's the CEO of JJT Consulting Group, a funding company that's helped business owners all across the country secure $50,000 to $100,000 in capital to build multi-six-figure businesses. From running national sales teams in corporate America to running playbooks that get his clients bank ready with no strings attached, our guest's mission is simple: to make the game of business credit fast, simple, and effective for viewers just like you. And today, he's here to do more of the same. Ladies and gentlemen, from Boston, Massachusetts, by way of Bronx, New York, I'm here with the one, the only, my guy, Mr. Jmapie Tapa. What's going on, family? How are you?
All is well, man. The legendary introduction. Oh my goodness. I love it.
Most definitely, brother. A legendary introduction for someone who is well on their way to becoming legendary, if I do say so myself.
Thank
man.
you.
Welcome to the show, brother. How are you? How's everything?
Man, all is well, man. It feels good to be back in in the city. I'm in Brooklyn, originally from the Bronx, but man, just extremely feels good to be back.
100% happy to have you, man. Well, I'm excited. Today is going to be a very fun, a very fruitful conversation. Obviously, I'm familiar with you, but there may be people who are watching right now who maybe aren't too familiar. So let's get them familiar. For those who don't know, who exactly is Mr. Jmapie Tapa?
All right. So I'm a father first. I have 2 sons, Noah and Weston, and also a fiance, Ashley, man. I love you. And pretty much, man, originally came from corporate America, transitioned into entrepreneurship just from feeling burnt out and just taking my life to that next level. So yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
Let's dive a little bit more into that, right? Because there's always so many layers to what led you into the space of entrepreneurship. So let's go back as far as you want to take it. What did life before success in entrepreneurship look like for you?
So life before success in entrepreneurship, worked for Verizon, started in the stores as a rep in the stores selling cell phones, and just quickly became one of the top reps in the nation. First year, transitioning into the role, I got Winner Circle, top 10% in sales. Then I transitioned over to business. I became a business account manager. And when I transitioned into business, they pretty much gave me like a punishment store. They gave me Harlem, right? Harlem was one of the stores that was known for, just problems. And I quickly, when I transitioned into that role, I quickly turned that store into a tier 1 location. Just from my hard work and dedication, just bringing that tenacity every day. So I quickly changed that culture. Then they pretty much transitioned me down to the city, Times Square, 42nd Street, just because I pretty much now I'm one of those more established names within the space, and turned up again and down in Times Square. Then I was promoted again up to New Jersey, to Newark, New Jersey, and top 1% in sales in Newark, New Jersey. Was able to go to Hawaii on the company, and just somebody who fully dedicated myself and put the work in, right? And you know, one thing I'll tell people is working in corporate America, it was extremely tough when you have a family, just because when you in sales, you can't turn off. It's always, you're on all the time. Even when you get home, you're thinking about numbers. And especially when you transition to a leader. And that was my last stop in Verizon, which I transitioned over to Massachusetts, which I was a senior manager of the whole Massachusetts. And I had a team of 8 reps under me. And to be honest, that's where, you know, my story ended with Verizon.
So you're in Verizon, and it sounds like you're almost like you are like the silver bullet for the company, to where it's just like, yo, we're not doing well in sales. Let's get Jmapie over here. He's gonna clean everything up, right? And you did it countless times over. You're growing, you're climbing this corporate ladder, and you get to a point in Verizon where you decide you want to pivot, right? Even though you're having all the success, you decide you wanted to go in a different direction. Talk to me a little bit about that. What happens after Verizon? Well, what happened to make you even want to step away from Verizon and start going in a different direction?
So I transitioned to Massachusetts, and I noticed that it no longer became a 40-hour job. It was literally an 80-hour job. So for me, I fully was committing myself, man, making Verizon literally millions of dollars a month, and fighting for a $10,000 commission check by the end of the month. So when I initially came into the role, Massachusetts was one of the lowest, the lowest, probably the last on leaderboard in the nation. So me transitioning over to Boston, we became number one. We became number one as a whole, and every month it's like, hey, they kept pushing the goal line further and further and further. And for me having integrity, I'm gonna go and get to the goal line. Doesn't matter what we have to do with me and my team. But my final straw with the company was, initially, I think I went down to 3 reps out of 8. Some were fired, some were promoted, some were on leave, and my quota didn't change. So for me, I was just like, hey, this is not fair. And you know, me still, I have integrity. My goal was to just get to that goal line. And when I got to it, every time I got home, it was just more of I was taken from my family. And what I mean by taking from them, I'm transitioning them from the Bronx to New Jersey for the company, all the way up to Massachusetts. And to be honest, man, I told them I was doing it for them, to grow in the company, but I was actually doing it for the company. So for me, that was that transition when I was like, hey, I have to bet on myself. If I can implement my corporate structure in my day-to-day and anything I do, I'll be super successful, because it was a proven fact throughout my whole tenure in Verizon.
I think what's interesting, and I actually had this conversation with someone else that's been on the show, that moment of transitioning from corporate America, that 9-to-5 life, to entrepreneurship, most of the people I sit down with, it's usually never a situation where it's like, man, life was terrible, or I'm not making enough money. It's usually they're crushing it in their job, but there's just something there mentally or emotionally that's not clicking. Whether it's time away from family, whether it's feeling like they're not appreciated in the workspace, whether it's, man, I just want more. Like this can't be it, right? This can't be it for me. And it sounds like for you, it was like a mixture of all of those things, right? So it's not like you're not doing well in your job, you're crushing it, but it's just like, this can't be all that I'm called to be. What happens from there? What's that next step that you take moving forward?
So initially I came home one day and I told my wife, yo, look, we number one in the nation. And she was like, hey, you last place at home. She was like, your last place at home. The kids, they see it. Wow. You're not emotionally there. And then I had to sit back and say, hey, man, what matters most to me? And I thought about it. I was like, yo, my family. And I was like, what if I can implement my corporate structure into my day-to-day and just go for entrepreneurship? So that's when I transitioned and I started to look for mentors. And credit has been something I've always been in. You know, started in credit during the pandemic, listening to Him 500. And at the time, I didn't have the mentality or the mental and didn't understand investing into a mentorship. But as I got older, I seen the value, right? I seen the value and I seen what it do for you. And man, found the mentorship, really locked in. And then I told myself, I was like, hey man, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going on leave. So I went on leave. I went on leave for 3 months from work and I built my business, built the structure. I fully took a deep dive into just learning the infrastructure of credit in and out and funding. And I was able to take my life to the next level now because of it.
Let's unpack that a little bit, right? Because that transition from being in the corporate space to now being in business is never an easy one, because you go from working, 40 to 60 hours for somebody else to when you start a business for the first time, you work in 80, 90, sometimes 100 hours just to get the business off the ground. And there's no guarantees, right? Every day you're betting on you. What were the conversations like with your wife at the time and just with family as a whole? Because I'm sure it was a moment where you had to say to her, like, hey, listen, if you want long term, if you want me to restructure things to where I'm more present for you and the fam, these next couple months, I'm gonna be here, but I'm not gonna be all the way here because I gotta lock in on the business. What were those conversations like?
So at first, I didn't know. A lot of people don't know when you're first transitioning into entrepreneurship, you think life is going to be easier, but you're actually giving up a 9 to 5 for a 9 to 9.
Yeah.
So like me and my wife, we actually laugh about it. Me and my fiance, we actually laugh about it because I always say like Master P, 9 to 9. I'm like, we'd be like, oh, make them say 9 to 9. Because that's literally what I would do. So she would sing it walking by me because I'll be stuck on the computer working. That transition, man, it was super tough because I didn't know it was like that. And it was at some points where I was like, hey, man, I may just transition back to working in 9 to 5. But I had to trust in myself, trust in my ability. And I think that's what mentorship is for, right? That borrowed confidence. Getting that confidence from your mentor, right? My 3 things is OPM, OPA, and OPE, right? OPM, leveraging other people's money. OPA, leveraging other people's audience, right? And then OPE, and it's 2 E's, right? It's leveraging other people's expertise and their experience. So with those 3 formulas, that borrowed confidence, man, took me to the next level just to keep going.
So you're in the early days of entrepreneurship, working 9 to 9, right? You trying to figure this business thing out, and like any entrepreneur, you have those moments where I'm sure there's some days where you're like, all right, I think we're gonna make it work. Other days you're just like, yo, what am I even like? What are we doing, right? What was the exact moment in the early stages of your business where you got to a point where you said, all right, I think we have something here. I think I got it figured out. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember. I started to post my success. And I started to, like my Instagram, like my DM started to fill up with clients that was looking for funding. So I noticed that my calendar started to fill up and I'm like, man, I'm sitting on all these calls all day. Oh, let me get a closer now, right? Let me get a closer to take all of these calls. But once I noticed that my calendar was full for weeks at a time, I noticed I arrived into the space.
When you say your success, talk to me a little bit more about that. Was it, because obviously you're in the credit and funding space, and at the time the business you decided to start was in funding pretty much. Was it the success you were getting for yourself and getting yourself funded, or was it getting other people funded? Walk me through that.
So originally my receipt was me. I always tell people your first receipt is you, right? So I was able to basically get $150,000 for myself in funding, right? And what I did was I leveraged myself, telling people what I got myself, and I was able to get clients from that. So originally, a lot of people don't know this play, but you can always, like within the mentorship, I always say 90% of the people in the mentorship, they're there, but they're not really taking action. Those are your first clients, the people in the mentorship, the students in the mentorship. So, hey, I got myself $50K. I can do the same for you. Yeah, you can. Yeah. I already use my corporate, I use my corporate structure already to get these relationships, to introduce them to relationship managers.
Yeah.
So it worked for me.
Let's unpack that then, because I want to leverage some of your expertise. I want to learn what Jmapie learned, knows. I want to get the audience to know what Jmapie knows as well, right? And I want to go back to where you were when you were first getting started in your credit journey, because a lot of people watching this right now, they're exactly there, and I want to help them get to where you are now, right? I want to walk them through that. You're in the funding space. You have an expertise around all things business credit, but as you know just as well as I do, the foundation for that is how we handle things on the personal side. So let's say I come to you and I'm like, Jmap, listen, all right, I want to get 100, 150K, like you got 100, 150K, right? But I know nothing about the personal credit side. I keep hearing people say I need to get this right before I even thinking about getting funding. If I come to you, what's the first step that I need to take when it comes to giving myself the foundation on the personal side so I can set myself up later to get funded on the business side?
Okay. So the first step is getting a copy of your credit report. The simple things, right? So a lot of people may jump and start to talk about credit cards and things like that, but we have to see the structure of your profile from the beginning. So the first step is getting a copy of your credit report. Once you're able to get a copy of your credit report, the next step is now viewing it, right? Let's make sure all of your addresses are the same, right? Let's just make sure the structure of your credit report is there. Next thing from there, we want to go down and just make sure you have on-time payments. 100% on-time payments. There is no exceptions, not 90%, not 98%, 100% on-time payments. Then credit usage, right? Because, and I want to go back to payments first. Payments is 35% of your credit score. So it holds a big chunk of your credit score. The next thing we look at is basically credit card usage, right? I talk to a lot of people and they think an installment loan shows up on your credit report under credit usage. No, it doesn't. So what we look at is credit usage. We want to make sure that the profile is under 30%, but it's even better if you're under 10%. Because if you're above 30%, what it shows the banks is basically you're in a crisis. You're in an economic crisis, that you're over leveraged, right? So we want to make sure we're under that 10%. Then I like to talk to them about credit mix, just making sure we have a mixture, right? And if you're somebody, let's say for instance, if you're somebody who don't have any credit cards, right? That's when we're going to leverage pre-approval tools. I think that's one of the lowest hanging fruits, right? Leveraging pre-approval tools, because in order to get to the business side, you have to have that comparable credit. The banks want to see what cards you currently have and how you're leveraging those cards for them to come in and triple and double your limits, right? So that's the number one thing I'll break down to a client who's coming to me who don't have no full understanding of credit.
For someone who doesn't know, could you explain what is a pre-approval tool? Explain that to me a little bit more.
Sure. So initially you have, in majority, a lot of credit unions, I could say Dover Credit Union, Chase, Capital One, you can go over to their pre-approval tool and basically submit your information, and it's considered a soft pull. And what it's going to show them is it shows you if you qualify for a card before you get the hard inquiry. Yeah.
Okay. So we were able to use tools like that. We're building things out on the personal side. You talked about the different factors of just how to structure a personal credit report. It's interesting because whenever we have this conversation of building on the personal side, one of the questions I get a lot, and I'm sure one of the questions you get a lot, is, more about the credit score than the report. So people are flagging me down when they see me in the street. I'm sure people are DMing you all the time, and it's just like, how do I get a 750? How do I get a 770, a 780? How do I get an 850? Because in their mind, they think that the score is the number one thing and everything else follows after. But for you, I haven't heard you mention score in there not once. You talking all about just report. What's the difference between the two when we talk about the importance of building things out on the personal side?
So when I look at, like, when somebody come to me and they say they have a 750 credit score, that's like me saying, yo, you got a pair of Jordans on, right? And what I mean is, okay, yeah, tell me a little bit more about the profile. Yeah, you telling me you have a 750 credit score, but the credit score really don't matter. It's the profile, right? Is the profile properly structured so you're able to leverage that 750 credit score? And, some people come and say, oh, yeah, but I have an 802. 802 doesn't matter. To be honest, once you're at a 750, you're pretty much above tier 1 credit.
Yeah.
Like, you're already at that mark. So it doesn't matter really. So I always tell people, man, it's always about the profile. The profile is always over score, because if your profile, you can have a 750 credit score, but you have a lateness from 2 years ago, because after 2 years, it don't affect your credit score.
Yep.
Right? So I always tell people, profile over score.
Hey business owners, imagine being able to walk in and out of banks and starting to see approvals instead of rejections. And it's not because you changed anything with your business, but because you put your personal credit report in the position it needed to be in. Here at Takeoff Financial, our team helps business owners just like you using consumer law strategies that'll get real results in real time. We remove collections, charge-offs, late payments, evictions, delinquent student loans, along with anything else that's keeping you from getting to your funding goals. And best of all, it's completely done for you. We send the disputes, file the complaints, and do everything needed to help put you in position to access your first $50,000 to $100,000 in business credit. So if you're interested, head over to takeoffinancial.com or click the link in the description below to book a free consultation with me and my team to learn more about how we can help you get one step closer to your funding goals. Let's now, so we have some understanding of the foundation on the personal side.
Yeah.
What are, if you haven't had any, different banks, lenders, or cards that you would recommend on the personal side that we could look into to start building our report out after we've set that foundation of the structure?
All right. So I would say always credit unions, right? Because they're always going to give you the most money. Because they're nonprofit, they're there to give you more money, right? So I would say like Dover Credit Card, Dover Credit Union. You can go and get a pre-approval. Christian Community Credit Union, right? You're able to go and get a pre-approval. Now, again, these pre-approvals are only soft pulls, so they're not going to affect your credit score. It's just for you to just check. But then you got the heavy hitters like Chase. You can go and get a credit card pre-approval, right? And I always tell people, man, because a lot of people, they're afraid of credit, right? And I don't know why they're afraid of credit, right? Because it's leverage. Like, my mother, she used to tell me all the time, cut the credit cards up. Don't use them. It's the devil, right? But I'll tell you right now, it's leverage, right? It's the only thing, like a debit card can't give you money back.
Yeah.
Right? So, for instance, me, I have an American Express Platinum card. Like me coming down from Atlanta to here, I literally flew for free. The reason why I flew for free is because I used it on my day-to-day purchases.
Yeah.
Using it on my day-to-day purchases gave me points and I was able to fly for free. So a lot of people don't know how to leverage credit cards and that's why they're afraid of it. But we're going into the day and age now where credit is like a big pivotal thing.
Yep.
You can't have the house you want without good credit. You can't drive the car you want without good credit. And to be quite frank, you can't even have the woman you want without good credit, to be honest, right? Because a woman, when they look at a man, they're going to look at your back end and see how you structured. Are you disciplined, right? And a lot of people don't understand that a disciplined man is one of the top men in the world, right? A disciplined man is, you put yourself in the top 1% if you're disciplined.
Yeah. I want to dive a little bit more into the building on a personal side.
Yeah.
One of the things I hear about a lot is secured credit products.
Yeah.
Now, once upon a time, I've always kind of straddled the fence when it's come to secured credit products like secured loans and secured personal credit cards. Where do you stand when it comes to that? Because some people look at those kind of things as options and routes for them to go when it comes to building their credit report out. Where are you when it comes to that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's how I started my credit career. I started in Capital One. I started with Capital One. I put down $300. They gave me $500 as a secure credit card. And 6 months later, because I was paying it on time, they gave me back my $300 and increased it to $1,000. So it is a good start, but I prefer to leverage pre-approvals first because it's not a hard pull, even though secure is not a hard pull, but it pretty much puts you in a place where you know your buying power and you're coming in where you don't have to leverage money. Now, when it comes to secure loans, that's something I like to transition to. Like, and I'll tell you why, because like you have like Navy Federal, right, where you can go and get a secure loan. The beautiful thing about the pledge loans with Navy Federal is once you have the pledge loan, once you go and order a pledge loan, now within the next 2 days, what you can do is call in and say, how I would like to add a co-applicant. Now, once you add a co-applicant, so let's say for instance, right, I go and get, and this is where I like to start my sequence, right? I start my sequence with Lightstream, right? And Lightstream, how I like to gauge Lightstream is if I ever had a car loan, right? Yeah. And I paid off a car loan, I want to specifically stay in that area. But if I never had a car loan, I want to stay around $15,000. But let's say, for instance, I go and get $50,000 from Lightstream. Now, how I'm going to start my sequence, if I'm going into business funding, I'm going to start it from the personal side. I'm going to go and get $50,000 from Lightstream. Now I'm going to go over to Navy Federal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a pledge loan. 2 days later, what I'm going to do is call and say, I would like to add a co-applicant. But prior to me doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post up on Instagram, hey, I have a $50,000 primary account for sale. Or you can go to Debt Finders. I believe it's debtfinders.com, where you're able to sell that as well. So now what I'm going to do from there is, once I put that $50,000 in the pledge loan, I add someone. That person is going to have a primary account, and I'm going to have a primary account, right? And then 2 days later, what I'm going to do is pay off 90% of it, right? So I'm going to pay off 90%, right? So let's say I put down $50,000, I pay off, let's say $49,900. I only leave $100. Now it's going to backdate my loan for up to 36 months. It's going to backdate my loan, right? And I have $100 balance there, right? Now, what I'm going to do with that money is I'm going to transition that money. I'm going to transition that $50,000 over to like a bank, like let's say down in Florida, we have a geo bank called Bank OZK. The beautiful thing about Bank OZK is you can put that money, that 40, let's say we just take 40 and leave 9,000 there. We take 40,000 and we bring it over to Bank OZK. We put it on a CD account. Now I'm eligible for a line of credit through Bank OZK. Now, with a 4% return, a lot of people don't know that, with a 4% return. So 40,000 on a 4% return, what, $1,600? And now I would have to let that money sit for 7 months. But now I have a line of credit where I'm able to potentially go back, pay off whatever I need to pay off. I already made money if I sold the loan from, if I sold the primary account from Navy Federal, I already made a little bit of money to kind of hold off. But what I'm going to do from there is Bank OZK, now I get a return. I still got 9,000 on the side. This is now where we start to establish those business relationships, right? Because I always tell people, when you transition over to business, you don't want to just go into the bank just asking for money. You can't just go in and just apply, right? Establish a relationship. I always look at it like a table of friends, right?
Yeah.
When you bring a plate of food to the table and everybody's eating, it's almost like a respect level or even respect level. But if you come to the table and everybody's eating without a plate, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So always want to come to the table. So now, let's say, for instance, we got $9,000 sitting there, right? What I'm going to do with that $9,000 is I'm going to divvy it down. I'm going to give Chase 5 because they're the heavy hitters, right?
Yeah. And
then I'm going to probably give BOA 2, and let's go give US Bank 2, right? I tend to like to let the account season for 30 days just because you want that money to sit in the account. You want Chase to go and leverage your money, because a lot of people don't know, when you're depositing money in the banks are using your money in the back end.
Yeah.
They're using it towards mortgages, loans, and they're charging an 18% interest on these things, right? From there, once the 30 days up, that's when I'm going to apply. That's when I'm going to apply, and we're going to apply with a relationship manager, right? A lot of people I see, they're initially like, hey man, well, I applied online and I got $5,000. You can't get $50,000. And I'm like, man, that's when we leverage our relationships in the banks, right? Now, once you have a relationship manager, they're that second approval before it gets to the underwriter, right? So that right there will definitely increase it will increase your odds of getting $50,000 going through a relationship manager. But obviously what matters most is just the structure of the business.
Yeah. I was tippy-toeing to get to the business credit side. You said, no, we're going to go ahead and leapfrog over there. So if you're going to leapfrog over there, I'm going to leapfrog over there with you. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
Let's get into it.
Let's talk about the business side.
Yeah.
Because you gave the foundation on the personal side.
Yeah.
If we transition over to the business side, you start talking about relationship managers and sequences. And you could open this line of credit with Bank OZK. Let's take a couple steps back, right? And really give the foundation.
I jumped into it, right? I jumped into
it. It's okay.
Business get me excited.
I can see.
It gets me excited.
Let's break it down, right? If we're going for, you talked about structure on the personal side, and the importance of it.
Yeah.
If we're talking about structure on the business side, because I hear a lot of people talk about it, but there's so many different bells and whistles that go into it. What is the structure that we need to make sure we have on the business side of things before we even can think about getting funded?
Okay, perfect. I would say the first thing, make sure you get your LLC. If your business is not incorporated, it's a hobby.
Say that again.
Make sure you get your LLC. If your business is not incorporated, it's a hobby, right? So we want to make sure we're incorporated just so we separate ourselves from the business. The point of an LLC is it becomes its own entity, right? So that's the number one thing. Second thing I would say is just making sure you have that corporate email, right? Because when the underwriters look, they're going to look at your emails and see if they see rockboyflex at Gmail, it's not professional, right? You're deducting money off of you're deducting money off of yourself already.
Yeah.
The next thing I would say is always have a website up, right? Because what it does is it gives you presence online.
Yeah.
So when the underwriters looking, they can see that you have a website, right? And then the next thing I would say is just making sure you have a business phone number, just keeping it separate, right? And then the last thing I would always, and it's crucial, is just making sure you go and get a virtual office. But when you go and get that virtual office, what you want to look for is you want to make sure you Google that you want to Google that virtual office address first. Make sure it's not one of those commercial receiving agencies, right? A shipping store, a FedEx, or a UPS store, right? So another way you can do that besides Googling is you can go to USPS.com just to make sure that address is not a commercial receiving agency. I typically like to go for virtual offices who have offices within the brick and mortar because it just looks more professional to the underwriters. So that's just the structure. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the structure together quickly because of the structure component. The number one thing I always hear people go back and forth on is what you talked about, the addresses.
Yeah.
How important is having an address separate for a business that's separate from because most business owners do, especially when they're early on, they'll use their home address for the business, right? Because they just don't know any better. Yeah. How important is that component of the structuring? Is it one of those things where it's preferred but it's not a deal breaker, or based on your experience, are you saying like, no. If you're going to structure your business, we're going to do this thing right from top to bottom. Make sure your business address is completely separate from your personal address.
So technically from the banks, and I've been having conversations with Chase, they prefer a home address over a virtual office. But I will say it is very important that you get a virtual office just to separate your address from your business, because it's public information. Yeah. They'll come knock on your door and say, hey, this is what your company did for me, because they're able to Google that, right? Yeah. So I always say just keep them separate.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just wondering, I had to cover that. So we get the structure together. Yeah. Now, earlier on, you was name dropping banks left and right. US Bank, Banco ZK. Yeah. The list goes on and on. When our business is finished being structured, how do we now go about finding the banks? Because there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of banks that are out there. How do we go out and find the banks that make the most sense for us when it comes to getting the amount of capital that we're looking for? What's that decision-making factor look like?
All right, so for me, and I advise a lot of people to do this, you can go to ibank.net. And essentially, when you go into ibank.net, you want to click on the state, whatever state you're in, right? And once you click on the state you're in, you can hit banks. It'll show you the top banks in your location. And obviously, their deposits. Obviously, if they have a high deposit ratio, they're going to be able to give you the bag. So that's the number one thing I would suggest for somebody who's coming in who don't know where to go, ibank.net.
So we go to resources like that to find banks that we want to form relationships with. Yep. You said something earlier. You said the word sequence, and I want to kind of break that down a bit. What is a sequence, and why is that so important when it comes to us going out and finding these different banks?
So in the lamest form, you never want your right hand to know what your left hand is doing, right? So a sequence is set up where it gives you structure and precision on when you're applying for funding, right? So initially with a sequence, what we do is we apply. We'll go to Experian first. That's one inquiry, right? Then we'll go to Equifax. That's one inquiry. And then we'll go to TransUnion. The reason why we do that is because let's say we go to Experian and we run multiple Experian banks. Our right hand is going to know what our left hand is doing. Chase is going to know that you just applied at Bank of America, right? Yeah. So we don't want that. So how we apply is we apply horizontally just to make sure our right hand don't know what our left hand is doing.
So we decide which banks we want to go to make sure that each one is not seeing that we went to another one for funding. From your experience, as people are navigating this, especially for newer business owners who are going through this process the first time, is there one common mistake that you normally see most business owners make when they're going through this process?
Man, so many mistakes, to be totally honest with you. So what I see is if they're going through the process without a professional like me, what I see is that they'll apply at this in the same credit bureau. They'll apply in that same credit bureau 3 times in a row, and now they're getting declined on the second and third one because they see the 3 inquiries coming in at the same time.
Yeah.
So what you don't want is, I like to think of the banks like a woman, right? You don't want to, if you're a player, you're not going to go speak to a woman, right? You at the bar, you speak to a woman at the bar, you're not going to turn around and go speak to the woman next to her, right? So that's just like applying with a sequence, right? So the reason why we implement sequence is because a bank is going to know that you're applying at another bank. So that's why we usually will go through a sequence, wipe the inquiries, then go through another sequence just to keep everything clean.
What's the easiest way to, because you talked about the inquiries being a big factor, how do we even find out where these banks pull from?
So you can go to credit boards, creditboards.com. I like to go to Help Me Build Credit. That's one of the main ones I like.
Okay.
Because pretty much they'll give you like a form and people will tell you where they applied at, where did they pull from, depending on your region. And they'll also tell you what their credit score was at the moment when they applied.
Is there a specific sequence of banks that, whether it be for yourself or for your clients, that you're seeing in the year 2025 have been the most fruitful when it's coming to giving out large funding? I feel like Chase is always the number one that I hear usually when I sit down with individuals like yourself. But on top of Chase, are there any other banks that you normally recommend for people to look into?
Oh, Citizens. Citizens is an extremely good bank, because the beautiful thing about Citizens is you don't have to necessarily have a relationship for 2 years to get a line of credit. So once you're approved for a credit card, you can apply for a line of credit right behind it. So Citizens is a really good bank. I would also say there's a multitude of banks, but Citizen is one of my favorites right now, to be totally honest with you, Citizens.
So we talked about structure and sequence and, finding these different banks. Another thing you talked about before when you were breaking down the line of credit strategy with OZK, you talked about using that excess 9,000 to kind of build relationships.
Yep.
So we hear a lot of people talk about that, but let's unpack that a little bit more. What does that process of building a relationship actually look like? Is it simply just open an account, throw money in, that's it? Or is there a little bit more to it? Walk me through that.
So initially you want to open an account. Some banks require you to have a merchant account, because if you have that merchant account, they know that you're doing business with them, right? But next from there, depositing money in the account is always the best route. Ask me that question again.
Yeah. So
ask me that one again.
In terms of what does the process actually look like to build relationships with banks?
Okay, so I would say the process looks like to build. Okay, so the process for building a relationship with a bank initially is once you open up their account, just making that deposit, right? I like to make steady streams of deposits instead of just one whole deposit, because obviously it puts you in bank tiers, right? Putting yourself in a high bank tier would help you towards maximizing on funding.
I love it. So one of the things I've heard you talk about that I don't think I've heard, especially when it comes to relationship managers.
Yeah.
You have a strategy where you talk about using social media to find the relationship. Yeah. A lot of people just talk about, hey, you walk in the bank, you sit down, and you shake hands, kiss babies. You kind of bypass all that, and you talk about a way where you can use social media to find relationship managers. Walk me through that process. All
right. So, and I don't want guys to just think it's just social media, but that is my favorite part, right? But just to go into social media, what I do is I leverage LinkedIn, right? I leverage LinkedIn, and if you go into the toolbar in LinkedIn, you can search Bank of America relationship manager. You're going to get a list of Bank of America relationship managers throughout the whole nation. What you can do from there is you could send them a quick message letting them know, hey, what you do and how you can help them and how it's beneficial for you. Just to give people a quick script is like, hey, my name is Jmapie Tapa. I help entrepreneurs gain access to capital, leveraging 0% interest. Tell me a little bit about your KPI so we can see how we can work together. Because at that point, once you ask them about their KPI, you're showing them that you're interested in what their goal is, and then they're going to be interested in your goal. But I want to go a little bit more into that, Marv, right?
Let's do it.
I spoke on that, right? Spoke on LinkedIn, right? But it's more deeper and intricate, right? Because me coming from B2B sales, this is how I prospect. This was my bread and butter. We leveraged LinkedIn Sales Navigator to prospect, right? And so, again, I implemented my corporate structure in my day-to-day. So I want to go a little bit more into that for people, right? When you initially go to message a relationship manager, you can't just message them. You have to add them first, right? You have to add them. You have to wait for them to approve you. Then you're able to send a message. But I have a way around that.
Talk to me.
Right? So everybody that's on LinkedIn, they give you a free 30-day subscription for LinkedIn Premium. Right? So once you get LinkedIn Premium, it gives you access to send them a direct message without befriending them. Right? Here's the beautiful thing, right? If they don't reply, here's the beautiful thing. If they're able to just view your profile, now with LinkedIn Premium, you're able to see who viewed your profile. So now you can spin a block and come back to them and say, hey, I sent you a message earlier about what I do. I would love to just jump on a call with you, tell you a little bit more so you can have some clarity. So that's one of the beautiful things about LinkedIn, leveraging LinkedIn Premium. It's 30 days for free, but after the 30 days, it's $69.99.
Do you recommend having relationship managers with all banks, or is it specific banks that it's more prioritized for?
All banks, because you just never know where your client is from. So you want to have with all banks.
So in the year 2025, one of the things I hear people talk about a lot, right, on the business credit side, you see a lot of the content on social media, which is like, hey, you can get funded even if your personal credit is not where it needs to be. And a lot of people talk about like non-personal guarantee based funding, right, where you can build your PAYDEX score to like an 80, and you can go out and get funded that way, and you don't need to use your personal credit. Where do you stand when it comes to leveraging personal credit to get funded versus some of the non-personal guarantee or non-personal credit routes to get funded in the year 2025?
I felt like it was a thing during the pandemic. Like I remember I used to have the BP gas card, man. I had all of these because I thought it was a big thing, but personal guarantee is the quickest route. Like it's your GPS to getting $50,000 to $100,000. If you go with the non-personal guarantee route, it's going to take you a lot longer, and your company will have to be generating a substantial amount of money. A lot of people don't understand that. But there is lenders out there that will help out, newer businesses that is transitioning in, right? Like Sam's Club. Sam's Club is a good one. They've been giving a bunch of my clients roughly $20,000 to $30,000.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So Sam's Club, you don't require a personal guarantee, and they'll pull straight from your EIN. Yeah. But it's not necessary.
To dive a bit more into that, so one side of this, and I'm sure you see even with your clients and other people have come to you, I say, okay, I watch this sit down with Jmap and Marv, got it. I'm gonna go ahead and set my business up. I'm gonna get my personal credit right. I'm gonna get everything right, and then I'm gonna go out and apply for this card with this bank or this card with this bank. In my mind, I'm ready for that approval letter to come back. It's gonna say 50,000 on there. Boom, money good. I'm done. I followed every step down to a T. I apply. I get the letter back. Damn, I only got 3,000. I only got 5,000 on a business credit card. When you have individuals who may come back to you and be like, hey, I feel like I did everything right from top to bottom, but I only got $3,000 on an approval, or $5,000 on an approval, or $7,000. I didn't get the 50,000 I thought I was going to get. What are some of the steps they can take to go ahead and maybe go back to the bank and get approved for a higher amount, right? Or what are some of the common mistakes you see individuals made that put them in a spot where they got that lower approval in the first place?
Okay, that's two questions. So the first question, I would say the biggest problem is they don't know the data points, right? So there's data points to getting $50,000.
Yes.
People think just because you have a relationship manager and you have good credit, you're going to get $50,000. But what is your company generating? What's the projected income, right? They may ask, what's the household income? The household, you're not the only one that live in that household. If we all lived in the house together, it's me, you, we have our cameraman in the back. What are we all making? That's the household income, right? So I think that's the biggest problem. A lot of people don't have the data points to get 50,000. Now, let's say, for instance, if somebody was approved for $5,000, that's when we're going to leverage reconsideration, right? So we're going to call reconsideration and have a conversation with them and let them know, hey, this is not sufficient enough for the business. This is our goal. What reconsideration is going to do, they're going to reconsider. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Let's go over your credit score. Let's go over how long you've been in business, right? And let's go over how your business is structured. From there, we're able to get an increase. But it's not finished from there, right? Every 91 days, we can ask for an increase with all banks. Every single bank, every 91 days, you can ask for an increase. As long as you're not over 30% of the credit card and you're leveraging the credit card the right way, you will be able to get that.
Attention business owners, are you tired of getting denied for business credit because your personal credit is still holding you back? You have the business, you have the vision, but every single time that you apply, lenders hit you with the same brick wall time after time again, your credit report. You see, here at Takeoff Financial, we use advanced consumer law strategies to get every negative item removed from your credit report. Things like collections, charge-offs, late payments, delinquent student loans, and so much more. And best of all, it's fully done for you. Our team sends out the dispute letters, files the complaints, and handles everything needed to get your credit to the finish line, which means you don't have to lift a finger, and we'll do all the heavy lifting needed to put you in position to finally get approved for business credit. So if you're ready to stop getting denied and start getting funded, head over to takeofffinancial.com to book a free consultation with me and my team to see how we can put you in position to get one step closer to your funding goals.
So this is great, because when you were transitioning from being in the corporate space and coming into entrepreneurship, with all the different things that were going on, you decided to plant your flag in the funding space, right? Fast forward now, you've had the success that you've had, and we're giving people this information. And if they wanted to, they could go out and leverage this information, go out and start a credit or a funding company of their own. From where you sit in the year 2025, if I'm going through an episode like this and I know how to get my credit report structured, I know how to go out and get funding and do all these different things, should I go out and now start a funding company of my own?
Well, you can. The beautiful thing about starting a funding company, it's more so relationship. It's all relationship based, right? So leveraging those relationships, and also too, just locking into a mentorship where somebody's able to educate you. So I would say starting a funding company in the beginning is extremely easy, because all you're doing is leveraging relationships. You're the middleman between the client and the banks, right? And then you pretty much have the GPS, the roadmap on how to get them funded. So it's pretty simple for somebody coming in who don't have experience.
If you had to give somebody the step-by-step blueprint from start to finish on how to not only create that funding company, but set it up to where they're like, it is almost, as long as you put the work in, you will go out and be successful in the space. What would that look like?
All right. So the first thing I would do is understand a full credit report, right? Because if you can view a credit report and have a full understanding of when a client is ready for funding and not, then you're good. Next step is leveraging LinkedIn. Leveraging LinkedIn just to build those relationships. Once you build those relationships, that's when you take it to the next level of just introductions, right? Introducing that client to the banks. Once the client is funded and they pay you that 10%, right? Now is when we start to build systems in the back end. We go and get a CRM, right? Like Go High Level. And now we're able to now send over, newsletters to clients to educate them and just nurture them, right? And pour into them. But it just requires relationships. This is the only business in the world where you only need one client a month to get you to 6 figures by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing it right. Yeah.
What going back to if you had to reflect back on your journey in business up until now, what would you say? Because a lot of entrepreneurs are chasing that golden number of 6 figures. I want to get to 6 figures. What were the 3 best decisions that you made that helped you to make your first 6 figures in business? Speed
was the first decision, right? Just taking action. I think a lot of people, they overthink things. So what happens is the person that's not smarter than you is running circles around you. right? So speed. When you gain a relationship, let's say for instance, if you're depositing money in the bank, you come across a relationship manager, or you learn something, even going on Help Me Build Credit. If somebody gave you some type of information, implement it.
Yeah.
Right? The worst thing that can happen is the client gets approved for a low limit. But here's the thing, right? You will learn from it and you will adjust from it, right? And you will understand, hey, maybe I need to increase my data points here. But I would say speed is the first thing. The second thing I would say is just relationship building, right? Just having those conversations, making those offers every day. A lot of people don't make the offers and then they expect like, oh, why am I not making the money? You have to make the offers. You have to tell people what you do, or you're just going to be the best kept secret, right? You could be the best at what you do, but if people don't know what you do, you're the best kept secret, right? So I would say make offers. And then the third thing I would say is, man, just the biggest thing, and this is the third thing I would say is, man, just pour into people. If you pour into people, whether it's a relationship manager in the bank or you pour into just people around and you provide good energy, they're going to naturally want to help you. Man, I pour into people all the time, and I got a client for you. Man, what you did for me, man, I got another client for you here. Let me just send this over to you. And it just, man, love on the people, make offers, and build relationships. Simple as that.
Now, if I had to flip that question, what were some of the biggest mistakes that you made early on when you were trying to scale your company?
I made a lot of mistakes, man. So a lot of people don't know I was sued.
Okay, damn.
Yo, yeah.
What happened?
Early in my entrepreneurship career, man, I was sued.
You step your toe in the business waters. They're like, yo, what you doing in here? Lawsuit, man. And it just hit you. What happened?
So me being super ambitious, me being who I am, I had my team cold calling.
Okay.
And we called the wrong individual. And this individual stated that his number was on the DNC list, do not call list.
Okay.
Now, what a lot of people don't know is there's a TCPA Act, right? And that TCPA Act basically entails if somebody's on the DNC list, you can't call to solicitate them, right? They're able to sue you.
Yeah.
It was created originally for like credit bureaus and things like that. People, debt collecting agencies, when they call in and the client sues them, they're leveraging the TCPA Act. Well, I called the wrong individual, and this guy was a serial litigator. He was a serial litigator, and he threatened me via email.
Okay.
He threatened me via email. He was just like, "Hey, just give me $15,000." I'm like, "No." And then next thing you know, my registered agent said I had mail. Yeah.
Damn. I mean, it's done now, or is it still ongoing?
It's finished. I settled.
Okay.
Only because it was going to be more expensive to just continue.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Just early on. So it was like that was my welcome to entrepreneurship. It's like, all right, cool. When you're leveling up, you got to lawyer up. You have to make sure you're running your business properly.
Right.
You can't cut corners, because if you cut corners, the longest road to success is a shortcut. A lot of people don't know that. So me, I'm like, all right, let me cut the middleman out. Let me not prospect on social media, right? Let me go and start cold calling, being super ambitious, coming from, again, corporate America, right?
Yeah.
But there's people out there that make a living off of this, right?
Yeah.
Make a living off of just suing people. Yeah. He was one of them. So I remember my lawyer sitting there telling me, he was just like, man, this guy has over 200 cases.
200
So
cases?
Yeah, he was baiting people to call him.
So there's a man that literally sits in his crib all day. He's like, I wish somebody would ring my phone and I'm on your ass. Just like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Yep. But it was a learning point for me. And it helped, it forced my company to transition, started to run ads and started to really understand how to prospect the clients and really get clients that's engaged with us. Yeah.
So with all of that, right, just unpacking your expertise around credit and where you came from to where you are now at this point in your journey, as we start to kind of close, what would you say is your North Star? What are you working toward? What's the big picture vision you have for yourself and for your business at this point?
Obviously, to become a staple in the space, right? I want to be one of those guys that when you think of credit, you think of me, right? And then obviously transitioning everything I learned from credit into real estate, because I think that's the biggest play, right? Because God, he's not making no more land. He's making humans. He's making banks. Banks are being made. Sequences are being made.
Yep.
But land is something that's not being made. And obviously, credit and real estate, they go hand in hand with each other. Yep.
I love it. My guy, this was a very fruitful, a very powerful conversation. I'm happy I had a chance to be able to sit down with you and unpack not only your story, but your genius around credit. And I'm excited to see you continue to impact the people the way you did on this episode. I know, of course, we have to get you out of here. Before we do, let the people know what you have going on. And more importantly, let them know where they can get in contact with you as well.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, you can get in contact with me at Jmapie Tapa on Instagram. And also, too, man, we'll be running live funding classes on Thursday nights for Fund of Freedom. And, man, I look forward to just impacting people, loving on people, and giving them more information and game.
And if you had to leave one closing word for someone who was where you were back when you were making that transition from Verizon to the entrepreneur side, what would you say to this person at this time? Take
action. That's it. Take action. I think the biggest thing you have to do is your life is not going to change unless you change it. One of the biggest things I do, like when I go on TikTok Live, is I say, hey guys, like, what's your freedom number? Do you think you can hit your freedom number doing what you're doing every day? Right? And if you can't, then you have to pivot and start to do something different.
Yeah.
Take action, get around the right people, go find the person who has the lifestyle you want.
Yeah.
And make sure you lock in with them. Doesn't matter how much the money is. Money is unlimited. You can keep continuing to get money, right? But man, time is so much more important than money. And people don't understand that. Time in relationships so much more important than money. Yeah.
My guy, Jmapie, I appreciate you coming on here. But more importantly, I appreciate each and every single one of y'all. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? Take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now to go ahead, hit the like button, tell a friend to tell a friend to come back and rewatch this episode again. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marvin Francois. That's Jmapie Tapa. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. And as always, family, thank you all and God bless.
Yes, sir.
Peace.